Hello friends, I'm Larry with Rides Done Right, and we are at the Ridge in Washington riding with Moto Vixens, but we got a little introduction to Jason Pridmore. Jason, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So where to start with you? Let's talk about training, because this whole segment we're really going to expose the idea that not only has Jason been a great racer with a great background and all these people that he has been exposed to his whole racing career, he is a trainer, and the top level trainer you're going to find. He has his own school, and let's talk about the creation of that JP43. Why don't you talk about that a little?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me to start with. JP43 Training was an offshoot of Star Motorcycle School that I started in '98. At the time, I was racing for Suzuki, and they actually approached me about starting up a program. And due to my pedigree with my father and things, my dad had a motorcycle school. At that point, he was with Honda. And when I got with Suzuki, they were interested in doing something with me along those lines. And it was really nice to be approached about that. So that's something that we started. And then what really started to happen for me was I was doing so many big events, started realizing, we went through the economic downfall. And so what was happening was it was just costing a lot of money to travel with a semi all around the country. And what I started to realize is there was a lot of people that wanted to do more one-on-one type of coaching and one-on-one training. And nobody was really out there doing that. So I thought, I'm going to start a business where I bring a lot of the people that have been so influential in my life as far as the people I've trained. I've got some amazing kids and individuals that I've trained that have gone on to great success. And they have the passion to want to try to help people as well. So what better way to link people up one-on-one with some of the people that they get to see on TV and watch on TV. And JP43 Training was born, I guess. And to be fair, by complete accident, I had no idea how much it would take off. I do a lot down in Southern California at Chuckwalla Valley Raceway, and our program, it just fills.
You started out with your dad, who was a former champion, and he had this instruction school. And I read somewhere that you started training at like 16. You were helping your dad training at. So how did that come about?
Well, I think that when you have a father that he's 3-time AMA Superbike champion, there was a heavy influence there from a child. I was from a kid. I was going all over the world. I mean, at 8, 9 years old, I was going places like the Isle of Man, which a lot of 8, 9-year-olds don't get to do. So, and of course, I got to watch him win championships. So I had a couple other avenues I could have gone in school. Like, I loved playing golf, and I thought at one time I'd like to get a golf scholarship and go down that path. But racing was kind of easier for me because from an early age I was on a motorcycle. And then when he started his motorcycle schools in the early 80s, I was 12 and 13 years old, but I'd go. And then I think probably by the time I was 13 and 14, I was riding. And then from that point, I'd sit in every classroom that I could possibly sit in, just like every other student, and I'd learn as much as I could. And back then, my dad was, one of only a couple of schools with California Superbike School. They were the 2 schools that you could go to, and I was just lucky enough to have a dad that was, 3-time AMA Superbike champion, and he taught me so much. And then I got into the instruction side of it with him.
So you have this experience as an instructor, and I love the fact that here we are on 4th of July weekend, which was pretty cool being able to, that it worked out this way, that you're up here training us, and you have a tie to training military. And why don't you talk briefly about that, because that's amazing.
Amazing is true, yeah. I mean, it's I think in life very rarely do you get a chance to give back to people who do a lot for you. When you think about law enforcement and things like that, and of course our military, I flew up here on July 4th, and when you get to help those kind of people that are on the front lines. I've done a lot with the Marines, Army, National Guard, all of them, Navy, Air Force. I've done something with all of them. Predominantly the Marines. I've done a lot with those guys. So when you get to go on base and you get to see their lifestyles and you get to see the things they do, and then they're so intrigued by what you do. It's really humbling, because I would just ride a motorcycle. And I put a lot of years and effort into getting better on a bike, but when these guys come up to you and they thank you at the end of the day, and you're thanking me for getting you on a motorcycle or helping you on a motorcycle. This is a hobby. This is fun for me, But it was something that affects you, and being able to help those that give back is a thrill.
I love that you do that. I mean, obviously we're patriots and we love
course.
what they do for us, but
Yeah.
to hear that you do this and you have a connection, we know that they appreciate it. So that's
great.
pretty cool. Well, coming up here, I have had quite a bit of instruction really before coming here and over the last couple of years, and I came to what was going to be a classroom setting. So number one, I'm coming with Jason Pridmore thinking, man, this will be cool just to meet the guy, even to be
We gotta set them
acknowledged.
standards higher.
Yeah, that's
We have to set
right.
them higher. So,
Just to be acknowledged would be cool, but frankly, I looked at a classroom setting and I thought, well, what really how is that going to affect me? Because I'm riding a small bike and I'm going into racing license with an R3, and I'm going to be in here with people that know how to ride at different levels. How will this guy be able to touch me? Blew me away.
awesome.
The way that you can take an entire group of people in a classroom, which by the way, they keep the class size small.
Small. All my classroom sizes now we pretty much are operating the 15 to 20 group range. It's just more fun for me. You know, I've done the 60 group people, big events, and I love those too. I don't want to sound like I don't enjoy those, but I've got such an incredible staff with me that if I've got 3 or 4 people helping me, 15 or 20 people, we can really get to everybody and really condense it and make it nice.
I could not believe how personal you made the training, because each one of us got exposed to you in some way, and each of your staff gave us great advice and stuff that was immediate. I mean, it was stuff that you would tell us. We would go straight on the track and apply.
Feel it.
And come back, and then you'd say, yep, saw that, you applied that, and it worked great.
And I think that it's, years of experience. It's also having done so many big schools and big events. It's taught me that it is true. The less people you have, the better the learning environment. So that's what we want to cater it to. Make it more personalized. Make it more one-on-one. Yesterday when I go on the track, I might follow 4 people, and I can come in and tell those 4 people right then and there in a classroom setting exactly what I saw, what we can work on as individuals, like I did with you. When I came up behind you, it was amazing. Your lines and everything were good. Your body position was good. There were little things that we needed to make tweaks on that I knew would make a big difference. And I saw you, and then I had 3 more people after that. But I remembered what each one of those people did. And in the meantime, I've got 2 or 3 other of my staff doing that with others. And so what it does is that you get an immediate effect the second you go back out. And at some of the bigger schools, when you have 60 people, you're always worried about not getting to that person that doesn't really get their questions answered. And sometimes people can be a bit timid in classrooms and not want to talk or embarrassed to ask questions. But now I completely squashed that right off the bat. We try to keep it lighthearted and fun, as you saw. And then by the end of the day, I see the students talking to each other that weren't talking to each other when they got there. So it's just fun for us.
I've not experienced or seen anything like that. And, this is something that we study. Those of us that are passionate about this, you kind of hope or maybe think in a dream that you'd have some kind of experience like this. But it was amazing. One of the things that you need to know is what happens behind the scenes. Someone that had taken your class before that came back and took it again this weekend had made the comment that you did exactly the same thing with them. That last time they were there, it was a very personal connection in a group setting.
Yeah.
And when people come back to you, it tells you everything. They're back for a reason, and
It's really flattering to me that people want to come back 2 and 3 times, 4 times. I mean, I've got so many repeat students and loyalists out there, and there's so much information out there for so many people. There's so many people giving information out there. I think the thing that makes us a little bit different is, number one, the experience levels of things. I realized that I was lucky enough to race motorcycles at a fairly high level, but you can't teach that way. I've never been the guy that's going to compare people to the top level racers, because I just never thought that made any sense to me. If you're going to go do things because you want to be patted on the back and be told that you look like somebody, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, because everybody's so individual and everybody's at different levels in their life. You and I had the discussion yesterday about how much different we are now than when we were 20 years old. And the thing is that I try to get to learn who people are, and I try to get to learn what their lifestyle is like and what other hobbies they're into, so that I can kind of see what I'm dealing with. And the small environment allows that to happen.
At what point? At one point, you guys wheeled in a bike and you brought it right in front of everybody, got on it,
Yeah.
and as you went through that session, we were talking about things right while you were on the bike, showing things, body position, how to do these things. So you're saying them and showing them to us right here in a tight setting where everybody, you said,
Everybody
round
can
up,
see
and we
it,
all
yeah.
did. Wow, that was cool.
Well, I think the body position on a motorcycle nowadays, there's so many different ways you can do it. See, I'm so open-minded to the fact that there are a bunch of different ways of doing things. Again, when you get into a classroom setting and you've got a big group, it's hard not to be kind of fundamentally one-dimensional because you're trying to get the word out to everybody. And you got, I always tell people, I ask the question sometimes, how many people have been riding 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? You get people saying they've been riding for 25 years. I get 20 minutes to try to convince them of, let's try something a little bit different, something that they've been doing for 25 years. It's almost unfair. So being able to have the environment that we do, even when it comes to body position, the reason I teach it the way I teach it is because I realize that I'm going to have 11, 12, 14-year-old kids. I'm going to have 50, 60. I've had 80-year-old people come to my program. Some people can't get in the positions that they're being told to get in. Some people can, some people can't. Some people train every day. Some people don't train every day. Some people have ailments. Some people don't have ailments. So you have to be able to work around all that stuff all the time. And when I bring a bike up here, it's great because it immediately engages people with questions, thoughts, ideas. And then, of course, right after that, we go into it and show some of the world's best riders and actually what they're doing so it can be somewhat comparable.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
had the video there and showing that was really cool.
Yeah.
This, the other thing that you do is what you did today, which was one-on-ones. And I'm bringing this up because somebody very special to us in the Northwest, Jeremy Coffey's a great rider, young guy. We're all wanting to see him get to that next level.
Yeah.
And you had him today. How did that go?
Well, I'm fat and old now, so that's how that went.
You had to run, didn't you?
I had to run. It's fun though for me because I don't, I do so much training with people, and my biggest fear, right? I can't believe I'm telling you this on camera. I don't want to see any of these kids pull away from me too much. I'm still competitive, and and today, getting to ride with somebody like Jeremy, I did my homework on him a little bit, and I asked around about him, and I did all that. But it was weird is I think even though I've been doing this for as long as I've been doing it, I still come into these kind of days where the kid that's that talented, and I think to myself, okay, what am I going to be able to teach this kid? And I don't go on a mission to find something. I'm never going to baffle anybody with BS. I'm not that guy that's going to, if he's doing great, I'm going to tell him he's doing great. If he's got things that he can change, I'm going to tell him that too. And there was like 2 or 3 significant things that we worked on today and he was, when you get a young man that's willing to engage in instruction and really take it, and he did, and it was a different guy at the end of the day, and so it makes me encouraged because I get invested in people so much where I'm going to be there now. I told him, hey, you got my number, you text, you call me anytime because I want to see you get better.
I saw him at the end of the day, and I said, so how did it go today? And he goes, and he could have just as easily, if you know Jeremy this well, he could have just easily gone, yeah. And he would have told me if that was that way. Boy, he was excited.
Was he?
Oh,
that's good.
And to say excited, and you say that with Jeremy
With
Coffey,
Jeremy,
that's saying something because he's not real excited. Yeah.
And, I brought his dad in. I deal with a lot of parents. Deal with a lot of mom and dad are the ones that fund a lot of these kids. And I feel like it's a responsibility to me, especially being a little older now, is that what are we doing this for? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we going racing? Why are we risking our lives? What is the reasons? And the real reasons behind me doing the podcast and the broadcast on TV and things, some people might think of the reasons why they think I do that. I do it because I want to see our sport get back to where it was.
Amen.
I made a living doing this. I made a good living racing motorcycles. And I see a young guy like Jeremy Coffey at 19, 20 years old. I want him to hopefully someday be afforded the same opportunity.
And if you don't have the support of some people in your life, there's just so many things against us make it so hard that I love this about Richard, that he is there. I mean, he's like Earl was with Nikki. I mean, you have to have somebody engaging and willing to go all in. And Richard is that way. The family is behind him and trying.
They're great. And today when he sat there with us, he just literally sat there, didn't say anything until I asked him questions, or I wanted him to see what I was teaching. I wanted him to see what I was doing. And so it's not just about me having a young man buy into what I'm saying. It's never been that for me. But we got to do it as a group. You got to do it with the people that are around you that care about you, and I know that's the parents. And I've been super lucky to do that with so many different individuals, and he was great today.
How long you been coming to the Ridge, and how did you get hooked up with Moto Vixens?
Well, to be honest, I brought my star school here in 2012, right when it opened.
Wow.
I came to the Ridge when there was literally nothing here. So I loved the place. I did. I loved it. But right around that time was also when I started thinking about, do I really want to keep doing these big group schools? It costs a lot of money to get that semi around the country. And with me, I wanted to always do it the right way. So if I had 40 or 50 people, I'm flying in 10 people to be here to make sure that our students are handled. And I just don't know of any other way to do that. I wanted to make it right. How I ended up coming back was I got a phone call from Troy Cook, who had been through my school. And basically, Troy introduced me to Carol, his girlfriend, and said, hey, would you even be interested in coming up here and running an event with us? We would kind of put the things together, and you could have a small group. And I said, I'd love it. And I talked to Carol on the phone the first time, and which was a really funny story in and of itself. But that's how it started. I came up here 4 years ago, I think, and this was our fourth year coming, and we had another great event.
What a cool recipe, because if you got somebody handling the people and them getting in and registering, all that kind of stuff, it lets you just focus on doing what it is that you guys need to do.
Makes it a lot easier. And then this year, I mean, the event gets better every year, and this year is amazing because Paulson's Kawasaki jumped on board with us and brought us 3 ZX10s to come and ride, which was incredible because I flew this year. To be fair, I've made it a little vacation the last couple of years. I come up and I hang out at Lake Shasta for a day or two. But this year my schedule was just so tight and I didn't have time. So we flew up here, and without Paulson's jumping involved and getting involved with us, it would have been impossible. So they jumped on, helped us, and Carol, of course, had everything organized great again.
Everybody benefited from that too, because they were doing demos, and
Yep.
people that were here got to go out and ride on the track, their bikes. It made this whole thing a festive, this was a happening. It's just a lot going on.
It's a lot of fun. And, the thing for me is I'm past the stage where I do events for financial benefit because I want to come have a good time. I'm at that stage kind of where, for so many years, motorcycling for me was competitive. I was putting everything I could into it to be the best rider and best racer I could be and always get myself prepared. And now with these events, I realize that I'm bringing another aspect to it to help people and have fun. And that's what these events are. Moto Vixens days are a blast.
You keep things really lighthearted too. So, I can't put you on the spot and say, oh, you're funny, because then you say, oh, I got to make you laugh. But the reality was, in going through your school, you had so many things that you would inject humor into that we all liked. It just kept everything light, and we're at one part we're trying to be serious and do what we're doing, but you made it fun too.
You got it. You have to be that way because I watch people come into the paddocks. It's your hobby, and they put all this pressure on themselves. And I'm like, that's no fun. Like, you got to remember the reason. What is the biggest reason you're here? Why is the reason? Why are you here?
I want to get better.
And you want to get better. You want to have a good time.
Yeah.
You don't need to have somebody like me yelling at you. Or
that's for
screaming at
sure.
You or telling you you're doing this wrong. You're doing that. You don't need that. Like, so the way I approach my teaching is like, no matter what, I'm going to find a positive. I'm going to find something. Whether it be, hey, we made it out of pit lane safe. Whatever it's going to be. That's how you start it. You got to keep it lighthearted. You got to keep it fun because I don't know everybody personally when they come into my class and they pay to be here. So the last thing I want to do is make anybody uncomfortable. And you can see between myself and my guys and instructors and stuff that we have a good time. That's what you got to do.
Well, it was fun, and I want to thank you particularly for doing this because we've had 2 long days, a lot of fun. But when you get, anybody who's done track days knows this, you get to the end of the track day and you're like, oh man, here we go, let's go. He comes right out of his truck and comes over and says, man, let's go do this. And I just appreciate you taking the time with us.
No problem. It's easy. It's what I do. It's like, for me, it's so crazy that I get thanked to do these kind of things because it's so much fun for me, and hopefully I can continue to do them.
Sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you guys
Thanks
next time.
for having me. See you.